Mrs. Stevens, so you'll have a copy of the treatment. Is there anyone who was here last week who does not have their treatment memorized, or they do not have their treatment with them? Who wanted to take a picture? You're a rescuer, Breezy. Not long enough for me to see her. Yes, you need copies of your treatment. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I want you to memorize this treatment. You had it through me. I didn't say a word. You got to tell us about that. I know. Everybody else in the room, it is totally up to you whether or not you want money in your life. I've got money in my life, and I'm very happy about that. And if you want money in your life, you're going to need to do certain things. One of which is to commit your treatment for prosperity to memory. That tells me that you've been doing it, that you're doing it more than just once a day. It's a very easy treatment to memorize because it's all about having money and health and love and joy, and you know you want this or you wouldn't be at the Summer Prosperity class at Center for Spiritual Living. And there is a point in your life where you have to be willing to be ready. So I got to ask you, are you ready?
Yes!
Are you sure you're ready?
Yes!
Are you ready enough to have money that you're willing to do something different?
Yes!
Are you ready enough to have more money that you're willing to think a different thought?
Yes!
Are you so ready for money that you're going to actually say different words about it?
Yes!
Are you ready to have more money than you know what to do with?
Yes!
Are you ready to go where you want to go?
Yes!
Buy what you want to buy?
Yes!
And be who you have come here to be?
Yes!
Get up, Adam. We're going to do our treatment for increased income together. Aloud.
I know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is.
Okay, this is the way it works. If you want to share a demonstration of money, you can share other demonstrations later. But if you're going to share a demonstration of money that you've already got in your hand, the way to do it is to have your time check out, come up, get in line, and share how money has poured into your life. Who's up here? Come over here, Becca. There you go.
Sandy and I got married on June the 13th, and yes, we are still getting wedding presents. A week ago, I was at a job that it just wasn't the right job. It was possibly going to take me out of the community, possibly take me out of the music program. Well, the day after rehearsal, we got a new position in a different place, Monday through Friday, 7 to 3, more pay. I got a check in the mail for $50.32 refund from
on the stuff that's been happening in the past week, but the first thing that happened, which I think is the funniest, I was getting empty grocery bags out of my trunk the day after our first class, and this little wallet just fell out of my trunk. All I had back there were grocery bags, and there's all these perfectly little folded up dollar bills. Angel purse. I think it's $3 and change, but I thought it
was This week I got a notice from my Virginia retirement that my new monthly payment will be $8.21 a month more. Then I got a check in the mail, just, one of these that just come out of nowhere. It was an AT&T settlement, I think. And that was $5.75. Then on Friday, I play Mahjong at Atlanta Red every Friday. And so I was joking with the manager there, because I always get half a California avocado thin. And sometimes they're really small halves, and sometimes they're big halves. And I get small halves or big halves, and go, oh, the big halves. So then when I got my sandwich, it was a small half. And so I was eating away, oh no, this is a small half. So we played, and I won again. And then as I was leaving, the manager came over and gave me a sandwich. So I got a raise of $8.21, I got a check for $5.75, and I got a free sandwich.
This is not on. Okay, come on up here.
I don't know why it works up back here, not up there.
This is going to ask a lot of you, but hold this up to your mouth.
So, last week I worked on that to finish up my alimony from my ex-husband, and his lawyer was less than cooperative and did not want it to finish, although a court order said so. So I totally, okay, I have to pay another $300, and
You're paying
yesterday,
your ex-husband alimony?
yes.
Oh,
Well, that's America. What happened yesterday, my ex-husband sent me back the first $150 what I overpaid. Maybe I divorced too early.
So this week when I went to do my shopping for my family, which I do every week, I was getting ready to leave, and my mom said to my dad, give Sherry some money for her gas. And so, yeah, I was expecting them to give me like $10 or $15 or something, and he peeled off a $100 bill. That was very surprising.
My mom gave me $2 and change.
I think this is tithe number 5 since last week. So most of them I do online. I very rarely write a check, but I got this money on the way here. It's the biggest love offering I've ever received in my life.
Lynn doesn't waste a minute setting the law in motion, and her life shows that.
I love the Summer Prosperity class because good things happen all the time. So over the weekend, let's see, I had 3 full price offers accepted, and one of them was one of our investment properties for full price cash and close in 2 weeks.
This past week I got called into our scary regional vice president's office and he gave me a $1,000 bonus.
I got a statement from my credit card, and I thought they had charged me a plane fare that I didn't ever take. So I was on hold forever waiting to ask them about it because I had rescheduled a flight, and they charged me $600 to do that because it was non-refundable. So I had this other thing on there for $191, and it looked like a flight from Asheville to Charlotte to Phoenix. Long story short, it was a credit. And so while I'm on hold, it dawned on me it was a credit. And then they said, "We're busy, call back later." I'm like, "No problem." So it's the taxes is what I found. I did some research online, but they refunded the taxes, but it was $191.
Well, I had some good news this week. Last couple of weeks we've been dealing with some challenges. Had a pipe backed up and flooded the clothes washer onto the floor and running the floor in the den. So in the whole process with the insurance company, to get the flooring we really wanted, to start this off, we didn't really like the flooring down there. So that, it was one of those things I was trying to figure out a way to make it better than it was and hadn't really thought of an idea. And then it flooded. The insurance company's replacing it, plus they're giving us enough money to pay for the plumber as well, plus to fix the air conditioner, which also broke this week.
You are so powerful that if you decide you don't like flooring, you'll create a way to get new flooring. Wonderful, wonderful. Who else? Who else? Just from your seat. How many people have had demonstrations other than money today, this week? You want to just throw them out into the room. Not a big story, just throw it out. What is it?
I have the biggest deposit I've ever had this week.
Yay, biggest deposit, that's money. Yes. What else? Yes.
A friend of mine booked this really luxurious hotel for me and my son to go to Kiwa Island. And then I found out that my son has that Friday after school. So it was abundance of time and just this luxury travel.
Wonderful. Your son's got the time off from school. You've got the luxury hotel on Kiwa Island. Wonderful. Who else? Yes, Michael. Pardon me? You're booked for 2 months? Wow. Yay, Michael. Who else? Go out in the room. Who else? Yes.
I went away for the weekend and I got home and my husband had made dinner, done the laundry, and the cleaning.
This morning when I was on the deck, I realized that I smelled the herb that was 6 feet away. And I haven't smelled anything because of a sinus condition for a couple of decades.
Well, you haven't smelled it. She's got the feeling back in her feet after 14 years at the firewalk a year ago. We are into healing and happiness. Who else? Throw it out. Yes.
I received a letter of forgiveness from someone from many years ago.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, yes.
I got to see somebody that I haven't seen in 5 years that moved to New Orleans. I got to see her over the weekend.
Wonderful. Friends from long ago. Come on.
I went to the grocery store and I was at the checkout at the cashier and I didn't have enough money. I was like $5 short on my groceries and somebody behind me in the line.
Yay.
I had a visit from a niece that I had not seen in probably 25 years.
Wow.
She just was going through the show.
Wow. 25 years of not seeing her and she shows up. Who else? Yes.
I got a free bouquet of flowers.
Oh, flowers. Yay. Crystal.
A friend of mine called me that she's moving to the Outer Banks, and I've never been any further than Durham, and she said, come over anytime, stay as long as you want.
Wonderful friends. House on the Outer Banks. Yes, Lynn.
I got to stay at a 5-star Airbnb place called Vibrant Acres Homestead in Marshall for free. For 3 nights.
Free 5-star. Kristen.
I have a whole weekend off this past week.
The whole weekend, a big deal. Yes. Who else? Quickly, Kathy.
My daughter and son-in-law
perfect health. They gave me a report of perfect health.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We are creating. We are all actively creating our good right here and right now, and even if it starts off at a certain amount, the infinite abundance of the universe is yours, so grab on. Get on that train, and the way that you do it is you do your treatments, you do your affirmations, you set your intention, and you look around. Look around for the money that's coming. When money comes, acknowledge it. Linda has a book, and she writes down everything that she gets, and the more she writes, the more she gets, until she does 5 tithes in a week. Because that's how much money is coming to her out of the blue, or from unexpected sources. So, keep doing this, do it all week, do it over and over and over again. I would like to ask each and every one of you to have your Treatment for Prosperity memorized by next Monday night, and come with your stories and be ready to share fantastic good. I love you guys. Hello. Well, this is the firewalk.
Yeah, we did a firewalk. I haven't seen you since then. How are your tootsies? Everybody good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Who got some amazing epiphany out of the firewalk? Anyone here got anything that really just touched them? Let's go with Quan first.
I realized that once I did that forgiveness exercise, I was eager to do the firewalk. If I hadn't done the forgiveness exercise, I don't know if it was the forgiveness or the fact that I just did something, you know, the placebo effect or whatever. I'm just glad that I did the forgiveness exercise before I did it, because I might have come out with quite a few good.
Let's give Quan a hand. That's good. Drew, what do you want to share?
Doing like Quan said, doing the exercise and putting it in there, and I watched people next to me, and they're just like writing a little bit, and my hand just started like out of the blue. Just I need more pages.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where it's coming from, and to be able to write that pain down, I could die. And do the firewalk, and like I said, it wasn't fire. It was just letting that go, not letting go of the lessons, but letting go of that pain was more life-changing and freeing than 20 years of therapy.
That's great. You're absolutely right. That's the work. Because we hold all that stuff, we hold it down, we try to keep it in check, and it's frankly, it's killing us. And when we let it go, suddenly we're so present, we're so in our bodies, in our lives. It's so powerful. Thank you for seeing that so clearly. Katharina.
What happened, I told you guys that I lost my job, I was angry, I was pissed, I was everything that I couldn't be. And
you were paying alimony.
That's not stopped, even you have to pay it even from unemployment. So what happened is not just anger inside of me, but I felt so unfair what's happening to me. And yesterday I went to the mountain church to celebrate. This is what happened. Because all my perception changed after the fire. Everything was, I am grateful this happened, because I am doing what I meant to do for so long time and pushed away, and because I was scared to survive. And now I don't care. Something happens, God takes care of me, and I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do.
It's working?
And I'm happy.
And you're happy? All right. Fantastic.
I did not do the firewalk, but I got a card that said congratulations on listening to you by your mind or something, which is great, but it's the first time that I've ever been confronted by a challenge that I haven't taken it on. And it was just so relaxing.
Good for you. left it on?
It comes and goes.
Comes and goes. Okay, we'll just speak loudly. Yeah.
I had a couple of realizations. One was, I walked twice, so I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to, but it was easier for me to walk for the other people than it was for myself. So to me, that was like how I put other people's needs in front of my own. So I've been really pampering myself. The other thing was I connected, in the aftermath of it, I had realized, like, this thought had come to me of fear, of how I can remember being here and relating to someone about fear. And I was like, I can't relate to that at all because I don't have any fear. And so I was like brought back to that time, and then now I have experienced a lot of fear, and I was able to figure out where the fear came in and what it was attached to. So that was very profound for me.
You doing good?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Of course, it's easier to walk for other people. It's easier to treat for other people. It's called practitioner syndrome. But the thing is that if you do something with the idea you're doing it for someone else, you're still doing it for you. Good for you. Good for you. So, I was not here last week. My understanding was you guys began the journey in this book called The Path of Wealth. You talked about maybe step one. Step one is about reading something inspirational. So, I was not here and could not influence that conversation, but it's never too late. So, step one, read something inspirational. I'll bet you guys found lots of wonderful things to be inspired by. I have a strong recommendation that for the rest of this class, that what you read for inspiration is this book. I'm serious, because this is the book we're working on. This is the information that we want to be clear about. Most people read a book like this, run through it, and go, got it. And then 3 weeks later, it's nothing. Or you think, well, I'll just read the chapter before the class, then I'll be up on everything. I want you to read a chapter a day. Call the foreword and the preface, introduction and preface. Let that be 1 day's reading. There are 13 chapters with that. With the intro and preface, that's 14. There's 28 days left in this class. If you read one chapter or the beginning every day for the rest of this class, you will have gone through this book twice, and it will be much more relevant to you if you do it that way. If you just go through it once or you read the chapter we're working on, you think you've got it, but I guarantee you, you can't get it that way. You got to keep it going. This is inspiring stuff. The stories she tells, the ideas she shares are inspiring. So I want to ask you, you'll have the rest of your life to read all that other good stuff. I take nothing away from it. I'm sure it's inspiring. But be in this book for the next 4 weeks. Okay? That's what I'm asking you to do. I'm having a ball with it. I'm going through it just like that every day. So I read a section, and then I do my writing. And I'm finding it's working great because it keeps me focused on this thing that I'm trying to, this process that I'm trying to integrate into my life. That's what we're doing. Now, I'm not going to ask you about your success with your 7 steps yet. I do want to say that what I'm finding in my life is that the more I work on these steps and look at one of them each day, the more relevant it is during the day. Wherever I am in that process, it becomes more relevant. So I'm strongly suggesting do this book. There's still some back there if you need one. Get this book and use this for your inspiration for the next 4 weeks. I believe it's going to make a major difference. It certainly is for me. It's making a wonderful difference. Okay, so that's step 1. We're reading to be inspired, which is a great way to start this process because it's wonderful to receive before you give. You know, I mean, we teach a lot around here that you got to give to receive, and that's true. But to get this thing going, May's first step is read something. So we read it. Great. So I've read this thing. It's inspired me. And if you're writing to your CSO, she doesn't talk about much else. So you're not going to be off base with whatever is coming up in your writing. Let's talk about this step 2, writing this gratitude letter. I won't ask you to say this. I'll just confess to you that when I first got this idea of a CSO, I go, wow, that's hokey. Why do I have all these years of working with this idea of the divine? Why do I have to call it the CSO? And what I found was that that was a diversion in me to keep from going into the system. So if you had any resistance to this idea of calling this your chief spiritual officer, let it go. Let it be okay to do that, at least for the next 4 weeks. What you do after that is fine. You want to change the name of it, you want to write to somebody else, you want to write to God or Great Spirit or Divine Presence or whatever you want to call it, you can do that. But for the next 4 weeks, let's play May's game. Let's call it the CSO. And make peace with it. Barbara's having a ball with this CSO thing. She tells me all during the day, hey, I was just with my CSO. You know, and she's like owning it so much that it's irresistible. So I want to invite you, and I'm getting there too. I'm really playing the game now. I got me a CSO, and I put an exclamation point after I write, good morning, CSO. I put that on there because I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this through and see what May McCarthy's got to teach me. And not let my years of having it a certain way influence me or distract me from this process. Let's play the game. Let's all be in a life that actually has a chief anything officer. I mean, how many of us have a chief anything officer in your life? Those are words that go in corporate boardrooms at Fortune 500 companies. So it really is an idea that elevates. Now we say, we're talking about the infinite here. We're talking about the creator of all that is. You know, are we kind of dropping the bar a bit to go to a CSO? No, we're not. We're elevating our personal lives into something greater. So I'm just making an argument for this idea. Go ahead and play the CSO game, at least for the next 4 weeks. You want to change it after that? That's fine. But I do want to talk about what the CSO is. I mean, what is this that she's talking about here? Who is she creating this relationship with? Is this I mean, the way she describes it in the book, it's almost like, hey, I'm setting this thing up, writing this letter to a CSO, and then the CSO is doing all this stuff for me. And, you know, that's true, but what is it? How does that work? What's the mechanics? What's the science behind this? And I want you to know that May comes strictly out of the science of mind. Her sister, that she talks about in the book, is a dear friend of mine who is a Science of Mind minister in Washington State. She quotes Ernest Holmes. You know, she's absolutely in it. What she's done, she's just created a different format for doing the same work that we do. And it's clever, and it's unique, and for me, it's fresh, so I'm having a ball with it. I'm enjoying doing it, but I still know who this is. So I go back to my roots on things that really work for me, and I got to say that Greg Braden is one of my favorite writers. He's an engineer by trade. He's an amazing thinker, and if you don't know who Greg is, that's him. And this is one of his many books called The Divine Matrix. And to me, the CSO is the Divine Matrix. And what he says about that when he describes in the beginning of this book what the Divine Matrix is, this is how he says it works. There's a field of energy that connects to all creation. It's everywhere, a field of energy. What does Deepak call that? A field of unlimited potentiality?
Pure potentiality.
Yeah, same thing. You can name it anything that you want, but Greg says that that all creation exists in this matrix, this energetic matrix of connection. That's what exists. This field plays a role of a container, a bridge, and a mirror for the beliefs within us. In other words, the things that we believe, the way we believe the world works, is reflected back to us. Always has been. So until you get to a place in your life where you go, I want more than I see right now, You think that's the way life works. You just go with it. You know? It's like certain kind of people are just bad. Certain kind of experiences fall relationships. Intimate relationships, they don't work. You know, it doesn't matter how many relationships in the world are working. If you're living in the world, whoever I'm in relationship with ends up hurting me. If you believe that, guess what comes into your life? Guess who you pick to be that person to prove your belief in it? It all fits together perfectly based on our beliefs. You'll hear around this place a lot. If you're not here regularly, you will, and you start showing up, you're going to hear around here that we live in a perfect world. A perfect world? How could that be? Well, not perfect in the sense that it meets all our expectations. It's a perfect world because our beliefs are reflected back to us perfectly. And I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes. What else does he say? He says the field is non-local and holographic. Those are clever ideas, non-local and holographic. That means that where if it's happening here, it's happening everywhere. And whatever is happening here is a perfect sense of how the universe works. It's like the creative force that created the cosmos is the same creative force that you use to create your life, based on what you believe. And the last one is we communicate with this field through the language of emotion. The language of emotion. That's an interesting thought. What about all the words we say? How does that impact us? What Greg's saying is that the words, the ideas, the images, the vision that we're creating and the work that we're doing, writing to our CSO, is not in and of itself doing all the work. That there's an emotional component here. It's like, how do the words move us? How do we take these images and what do we feel with them? And if you've done any work around things like Abraham, you know that the whole thing is about what's your energy doing? What are you spinning in this? How are you living your life? And if you're doing it from a place of difficulty, then everything has to filter through difficulty to get to you. So the trick is, we have to change how we pursue these things in our lives. And we do this by starting our day, by being inspired first by something we read, and then by writing this letter. And this letter is well constructed. It's a simple little thing. Somebody tell me, where are you doing your letters? Are you doing it, and how do you keep them? You've got a pad here. It's a lined pad. It's a steno pad, so it flips across the top. That's great.
It's my journal.
That's your journal. Perfect. And what are you doing? You're using a journal too. Very nice. And you're doing yours in a 3-ring binder on the form that we gave. That's great. And the form we started with is a good model for how to line it up. And soon I want you to switch it to just blank paper because you've got the system. So if anybody needs those forms, we have some here. And you can come up and get all that you want. But get ready to kind of, get beyond writing it on a form. Once you know what you want in your letter and how it's formatted, isn't that beautiful? You do that right on that pad? Very good. There you go. Good for you. You got the date in the column over here. So you can go back and refer. Right. This is the one I'm using. Somebody gave this to me. I never thought I would use it. But as you can see, we're going day by day. And just because I'm pretty much able, I write one letter on a page a day. So by the time I get to the bottom of the page, I make a simple statement and sign it. Now I'm done. I got a date at the top. Says my gratitude, and then a simple thing at the bottom. What am I writing at the bottom that flows? Let's see. I am blessed. I am free. What a great day. What a great life. I love my life. Things like that. Let's see. I am so blessed. And it goes on and on. That's how I do mine. That's working for me. You don't have to do it like that. You can do it to 2.5 pages if you want to write that. Some of the way May writes, obviously, she probably couldn't fit into this. Because she's got more to say. And I like the economy of this, the fact that I'm doing 1 page a day so I know how far I'm getting down the road. It doesn't really matter though. You can do it any way you want. Yes, Deborah?
So John, are you just picking
like 4 things a day, just.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I got 4 statements
Right.
that are no more than 2 or 3 lines apiece
For each quadrant.
for each thing that I'm doing. We'll get into the details of how that, but you know, it's like when we teach treatment around here, we don't teach people to learn how to treat by picking the top 48 things that they want in their life. It gets convoluted, it gets diluted, so that you don't really know where you're focusing. So what I'm doing is I'm picking the top 2 things to be grateful for now, and the top 2 things to be grateful for that I'm wanting, and I'm saying it in terms that I've got it down. I want to go deeper into that in a minute, but the idea is that what we're doing right now is we're creating a discipline. We're creating a pattern change in our lives. This cannot be a casual thing. I mean, May talks about that in the introduction, about that at times she would just set it down and not do it, and something would go wrong, something would get dramatic, and she'd start it again. And yeah, it would settle out, and she'd get back on course. But let's not do life that way. Let's not do life fixing it. There's no reason to fix life. Let's have the life we want, and let's watch it grow. And the way to do that, God, if people... Here you go, I got one for you. Donald Trump. I don't give a hoot if you like Donald Trump. But that man knows how to make money. Now, he may be unscrupulous, he may have all kinds of personality defects. I know all that. But that man's focused on getting what he wants, which scares me a little. However, you know, whatever you think of the guy, and I have plenty of those thoughts, you got to admire that he gets money. He makes money. $10 billion?
I know.
$10 billion? You know, that's a consciousness. His father was a New York developer. His father taught him how to do it, but he exceeded his father's consciousness to something greater. The guy knows how to make money. Now, I don't think anyone in this room wants to be Donald Trump, but most of us could really get into having Donald Trump's money. But you see, that money comes with the rigors of going after getting money. Now, money isn't everything. I know that. But going after the things you want in your life require discipline. They require sticking with it. They require you stay on the course and do what you're going to do. And this is like one of the best models I've ever seen for this. And it requires, how much time are you spending on this? How much time in the morning? How much? An hour? You're at it an hour. That's a lot. How much? 45 minutes? How long are you doing? An hour and a half? Okay. You get half an hour is more common for what people probably are doing. It's not really about the time. It's not really about how many minutes or hours that you're doing this. It's about your focus. Is your focus clean and clear? Are you saying this is what's working? That's what will determine how this goes for you. You know, I used to work out when I was younger. I was a gym rat. And, you know, starting back in those days, we thought 2 hours, 3 hours in the gym was the right thing to do. And then the technology showed us that no, you can do everything you need to do to have the body you want 30 minutes a day.
Right.
But you got to know that. So I'm not making anybody wrong for how long you're doing it, but it's what you're doing that's much more important than how long you're spending on it. If you're comfortable doing an hour and a half, God bless you. An hour, great. That's fine. But I don't want anybody here to think that it's better if you do that. What's better is that you do it every day. That you bring this level of, because this is exercise, this is mental exercise. That you call yourself to this every day. For years, Barbara and I have done treatment in the morning. Every morning, you know, whether we're together or I'm traveling, we get on the phone, we talk about what can I know for you, and then we do our treatment. If we're home, we do it together. If we don't, we do it separately. And that has worked brilliantly for us for many years. Now we're taking on this new thing. We're going, whoa. But it's coming pretty natural because we already have the discipline of the morning, of giving that morning time to this process. So if you haven't been, if your normal routine was get up in the morning, brush your teeth, take a shower, get dressed, get something to eat, have your coffee, and get in the car and go to work, this is different. This is different, and if you have to be at work at a certain hour, that means you have to get up earlier to do this. So don't hurt yourself with it. Let's not set up a deal where you have to get up at 3:30 every day to get this done.
Don't worry.
Yeah. But at the same time, it is, even a half hour's difference when you get out of bed is a shift in your life. So you're being asked to do something real here, to really change your patterns. And if you do, and I'm sad to say you all won't, but there are those in this room that will see this. One's right here. That will see this as a life changer. That will see this, that by getting up a little earlier, if you have a certain time you have to be at work, and going through this process, doing the reading, doing the writing, doing the reading out loud, and bringing emotion to it, will make an extraordinary difference in your life. It really will. And the thing is, like, when you read May, you get, she's been doing this for a long time. And she's a multimillionaire. And that's because she stayed with it and she refined it over time. She didn't get this in the beginning. I'm not sure where she started. Maybe she did what a lot of people do, and she, read an article in the Science of Mind magazine, or she had some kind of a daily guide that she would read a little something.
Mom gave her Florence Shin when she graduated from high school or college.
I missed that. I'll get that on my next reading. Well, whatever it was, she did. She started it, and then she added to it, and then she reorganized it. And obviously this is a well-refined thing that works for her. Can it work for you? Yes, but let's be realistic. It's not that easy to change your patterns. Patterns get deep-seated in our psyche. we have things that we just are used to doing. And when we add something new to it, it's really easy to, oh, I forgot. Oh, I was supposed to do that. Where is that stuff? However it manifests, there's resistance. So let's just say there's resistance. The question is it worth it to have the life that you really want? I think it is. And I'm finding it a joyous journey. But I would not suggest for anybody in here that this doesn't take some work. It does. So I acknowledge you, those of you that are willing to do the work, I acknowledge you for being willing to make these changes. Now, it's real clear. She says, do this in the morning. The stuff she gives you to do in the morning is in the morning. So it's not like you go, I'll do it tonight. When I was preparing for my vision quest, the thing was that every day you did prayer ties. It was a lovely process where you did the prayers with the tobacco and little pieces of fabric, and you tied them together in just a certain way. But, every day. Well, it's day until midnight. So there were plenty of nights. Plenty of nights I'm out there at the table, way past my bed, and I said, oh, you can pray now. You can do it. And that's more human to me, is that we fall into that thing where we'll take this to the edge, to not do it, but I had a commitment, so I would get up even after I didn't do it, and I would get up and do that. This says in the morning. So that's an extra requirement that you're being asked to do. Even no matter how your lifestyle or your life is organized, this is adding to it. So I just want to be very clear that we're asking you to do this in a certain way, and it's pretty clear why. What do you want to say, Deborah?
I just want to offer something. This is my book that I have a page for each piano student and affirmations and things. I've got one section. It's like Terry McBride. I got some of this. One's for journaling, like that. And I'm journaling in something else, but what I did with her, the form that we got from classes, I edited it down and I've got it set up on 2 pieces of paper that you can just do 2-sided copies, and the form is this 5.5 by 8 size. So if anybody wants that to use in a similar book, I'll be happy to email it to you.
Thank you.
It's just I wanted to make it not a book I would read home, or it's like with me in my work. It's right there all the time.
That's great.
Yeah, I wanted to really integrate it. So it was a lot of trouble, but it's really worth it.
Good for you. That's lovely. So I want to talk about this letter. This letter has 2 distinct components. One is you state your gratitude for what you already have. And then you state your gratitude for what you want. But you state it in a way that's absolutely in the present, as though you already have it. So what's the psychology behind that? Why are you doing that? Why not just be grateful for what you already have? Or why not be just grateful for what you say you want in a way that hasn't present in your life right now? Why not do just one of them? Well, it's very clear to me that those are two distinct expressions or experiences. However, they work together so beautifully. By writing down what you already have and you're grateful for, there's nothing in your psyche that can deny that you're grateful for it. You have to find it and identify it. But you know you're grateful for it. It's there. You know, obviously the easiest one in my life is to be grateful for my wife. That's the easiest thing every day. In fact, usually my words in my treatments are, I am grateful for my life and I'm grateful for my wife. It just kind of rolls off my tongue. But it's true. So what am I grateful for in my life? I have to look at that and see what it is, or what it is about Barbara that I'm so grateful for. And what it does is it calls me to really see that this wonderful thing is going on in my life. And to feel the gratitude. I feel it. That's real. And once I've done that, I'm actually in a particular state. I'm in that state, which is what the experience of gratitude takes you to. Like, wow, this is great. I had this great thing in my life, and I'm so grateful. And I feel it right in my heart. It's just wonderful. And it has a certain warm feeling in me. You know how it feels in you. And from that state, I, without seamlessly, continue on to be grateful for that I want in my life. But if I wrote down that I'm grateful that I wanted, it would be a lie. Why am I grateful for wanting? Of course not. We must be grateful for having. And that's different. To be grateful for having puts it in the same column with the stuff you have. So what you're saying very clearly in your mind is, I'm grateful for these things that I have in my life, and I'm grateful for this that I have in my life. It's the same thing. It's seamless. It moves into this. Because you're not saying you're grateful that you wanted. If you said you were grateful that you wanted, first of all, it would be a lie. And first of all, you would be separated from it. Because now if you were grateful that you want it, then what do you get? You get to keep wanting it. That's what the law, which is what is doing this, and I'll explain that in a minute, is actually reflecting back to us. This thing called the CSO, in science of mind terms, is what we call the law. That's kind of a weird word to use, I know, pretty much as weird as CSO, but the reason that we call it the law is because it is consistent. It is the same, it works the same all the time. The thing that that changes is our thinking and our emotional state. That's what changes over time. The law is a solid standard. It reflects back to us, as I read in the Divine Matrix, it reflects back to us that which we put out. We put it out, it gives it back. Now, there's some elements about that to understand, and that really happens later on in this process in steps 4 and 5. But the idea is that there is this divine matrix or law that is constantly present in whatever we're thinking, envisioning, and having emotional reaction to or action to, is what comes back to us. Now the details of it are irrelevant. It's none of your business how this happens. Yours is simply to pay attention and watch it show up. Now, very, very few times in my life have I have had this happen, but it isn't the norm for me. That I envision something, that I speak it, and then it's there. Usually comes in steps. You know, it shows up over a few days. It has some elements. She gets into talking later, you're going to hear about this from Barbara in the next week or two, that all these hunches and intuitive hits and phone calls and reading billboards. She got one where she's reading a billboard. It gets her, you know, says, I have to do this. You know, and all those things are the law reflecting back to you. One of my favorite stories in doing spiritual mind treatment, which is working with this same law, but doing it according to the steps of Ernest Holmes and going through that process, it was when somebody said that they wanted to be in a loving relationship. And what I took them to was a place where, okay, we're going to know this, and you're going to have this happen in your life. And we treated. And they came back to me the next week and said it didn't work. Hey, what do you mean it didn't work? Well, the first thing that happened was my ex called me. I said, well, it did work then, because that was your chance to clean that up so that you wouldn't have that in your consciousness when you're trying to create this wonderful relationship with the next person. Because if you don't clean that up, you're going to get the same thing you got last time. And that's how this is working. Yes?
What I've noticed now, maybe this jives with a lot of other people, is when I'm working on achieving a concept of what I want, some other stuff pops up, like fear of being in a haunted house. So if I'm still talking about I want a house, but I got that latent fear, then it's like I have to clear that up, like where that comes from. So I don't know if anyone else has.
Well, I'm going to talk about that here in a little while. I'm going to talk about that after our break, because you're onto something, okay? So I just want to make absolutely clear that you are. So you've done the statement of the things that you're grateful for in your life that you have. And you're gently, seamlessly, in fact, she says on page 33 that you may not be able to tell which things in her letter she already has received and which ones are to be manifest in the future. That's the way to write your letter. So that you can't really, no one can read that and know which things you have and which things you don't have. So be clever in how you, in fact, use trickery in your letter to write it in such a way that no one would get it, including you. So that if you went back to your journal, to your letters to the CSO, you could not tell, unless you marked a date on your calendar, when this thing went from being something that you wanted to being something that you have. There should be no indication in your letter of anything that keeps that from not existing right now. Does that make sense? What do you want to say, Kat?
I just wanted to ask a question. When I'm writing what I'm grateful for, I'm there like pages, you know? So are you saying just pick like 2 things you're grateful for?
If you want to do that, especially in the first part, if you really want to go to town and write of the things you're grateful for that already are present in your life, what I'm thinking is, though, in my experience, when we start wanting 25 things, and even in this model, I think you can get lost in that. You know, to where are you clear enough about each one of these things that you really, each one of 25 things, are you absolutely clear? Can you see it clearly? In fact, that's what I want to ask you to do with this. Either in your writing or in your writing and in your reading it back, which is the third step, that you do your best not only to see it, but to hear it, to smell it, to taste it, to feel it, to bring the whole core of your senses to bear on this thing. Because this giving it to the CSO, giving it to the law, impressing it upon the law, as Holmes says, your clarity will guide how that goes.
I wrote like a couple of pages of what I'm grateful for, and then each day I read that, and then I start again with something new that I'm grateful for that day.
That's great. If that is a system that works for you in this, good for you. It's not the system she gives us, but that's fine. You know, to remind yourself. She does say rewrite it. Don't think that once you've written it down, you can't write it again. You can. In fact, there should be a lot of redundancy in this. Yeah, a lot of rewriting it. But I just want you to, I have seen people who have a laundry list of things they want. That's not bad. It's not bad to want. The thing is, though, if you get caught in that, and it's not real to you, it's not powerfully present in your psyche, each thing, then it kind of, you're staying in the wanting. And the idea of this is to move beyond the wanting, to actually, when you write it, to write it so clearly in the present moment that nobody can tell the difference. That's where it starts getting very real. Because just talk about desire for a moment. Desire is a great tool. Desire is a compass. Desire shows you where you want to go. But desire will not get you there. And if you focus on the desire, you will stay in the wanting. If you focus on what you want as a state of wanting, then you will stay there. And nobody wants to stay in wanting. You want this because you want it. So have it. She says something else in there. Let's see if I can find it real quick. No, I'll find it later. There's something here though that speaks directly to that idea that you want to be as detached from this in the sense that you're not thinking of it in terms of not having it. That nothing in you sees that as not already being present. Because your ability to envision it and to think it and to imagine it is what the law or the CSO uses to make it real. That's what we're part of. It's an automatic thing. It's, you know, it's lovely the way she has these conversations with the CSO. But the CSO, the law is fixed. It works. It works. The variable is you and me. Is how we approach it and what we put into it. And, as you'll find out later on, is how you maintain that clarity that it exists through your day. Not falling into the idea that this may not be right, or I could be headed in the wrong direction, or this could be scary, or this could fall apart, or whatever it is it might be. We're going to talk about that. In fact, we're going to talk about it after the break. Why don't we just take a break, come back in about 10 minutes. Thank you. We covered this luncheon yesterday. If you brought food for that, would you raise your hand? Excellent. No, I think we had more food yesterday than we've had in years. It was wonderful. Thank you all for being so generous and so in that flow. We ate good yesterday. Well, let's talk some more about this idea of gratitude. Why not just say I have it? You know, why not? You can imagine this idea of stating gratitude for what I have, and stating gratitude for what I want in terms of that as though I have it. It seems like you could just say I have these things and that should do it. There's something about gratitude, and it's the emotional essence of it, what you feel when you're speaking your gratitude, that is, I think, the thing that makes it so powerful in our lives. There's some good words in this book about how people who are happy, people who are grateful, seem to have a mental capacity to create more, much faster than most people. So we call it gratitude not for the nicety of it, but for the actual benefit that it brings to the psyche of being grateful. That not everybody in the world is grateful, but and there are people that have stuff and they don't live in a state of gratitude, like people who got a bunch of money from their parents. They have no need to be grateful. They have the money, but they're not happy people. Therefore, all the money in the world wouldn't make them happy. So it's not always just about money. Right there. It's not always just about money, but the idea of using gratitude as a tool is one of the most powerful ones we have. So that's, I believe, why we do this in gratitude. What do you want to say, Sam?
One of the first things that actually you ever taught me when I first came to the center is, I know this is about money, but money is actually an exchange. What would you do with it? I would buy this. Well, why don't you treat for that? Don't just treat for that. Sit with it and treat for the feeling that it gives you.
Money's an interesting energy, and people can get excited about having money, winning the lottery. I've seen it. You're like, wonderful. But if there's something that you would use that money for, that gives you an even more refined energy. So money's great. I love money. I want the thing that money gives me, though. That's where I put my attention. I wanted to share some of these ideas that really stood out for me in the reading this week. The biggest problem to receiving all that we desire is our limited belief system and our fears and doubts. Back to the haunted house. This is really, really important that we have this within us, this ability to sabotage ourselves without even knowing it's going on. Because our thoughts seem so logical. They seem so reasonable. Yet what they're doing is they're keeping us away from what we want. We don't even see it. We think this is exactly what happens in relationships or in a work environment. I've seen it happen 1,000 times. So I feel justified in having the thought that I have. But the thought that I have is keeping me from advancing beyond it. So what we do is we tend to argue for our limitations. We'll argue with people. No. This is the way it is. And what we need to learn to do here is exactly the opposite. To let go of those limiting thoughts, to move into that state of gratitude for something even greater. During the break, I had a wonderful conversation with someone that says, I really want to do this. This is going to be amazing, yet I don't know where to get the money. And I haven't done that kind of work before, so I wouldn't know how to do it. See what that does? And those are logical thoughts. They're real, they can be justified. But simply because something can be justified doesn't mean it's in our best interest. And this is all an inside job on us. We must refuse to accept these thoughts that have been bouncing around in our heads for decades. We must be willing to see them first. That's the first thing you have to do, is you've got to see them. And realize that that doesn't serve me to believe that anymore. And I do it all. I was in Phoenix a few weeks ago. And another one of those shootings had just happened. In the lobby of the hotel was the big screen TV. And I'm standing next to someone, and I don't even remember the words I used, but they were so inappropriate. About the world going to pot or something. I don't know what it was I said something that was a very limiting thought. I forgot I was in a hotel full of ministers. And she said, well, that's not actually true at all. I went, oh, busted. And it was good. It was really a gift, that angel next to me. And so we ended up spending about an hour sitting down in the lobby talking. And she told me all of her limiting beliefs. And I got to share back with her how, maybe she could reframe that the way I needed to reframe my thing about whatever the shooting was on television. We all fall into the trap. Don't judge yourself for it. Don't find fault in yourselves. And I'll bet most of you have pretty well-developed inner critics. That doesn't help. That just digs the hole a little deeper. So this isn't about finding fault in you said. It's about being able to identify when you say a limiting thought and how to move beyond it. And this is the way you start your day with these gratitude statements. So they set your pattern for the day. That's why they're so valuable. Writing it, and then going into the third step and reading it out loud. Allowing someone else to witness that if you can. Let someone else hear you say it and mean it. And when you do that, your person there that would be with you, if you don't have a person, that's fine, but the best they're doing is witnessing what's going on inside of you. The real work's going on inside of you. That's the work. What you're saying out loud and meaning is setting your day. So you must do that work every morning to set your day. And the idea is that by focusing on the things that are working, you are automatically releasing the things that aren't working. So what you do with your haunted house is you keep correcting it.
I do.
Yeah, again and again. Because it'll come back. It wants to play.
Yeah.
It wants to tell you can't. That's all ego-based.
Yeah.
It wants you to be safe. And the only way to be safe is for you to know the house could be haunted and it's better not to go there.
Yeah.
No. Yes. And I love my ego. Because my ego gives me this stuff all the time. And I've learned to have a healthy relationship with it where I go, That's interesting. I hear you, and that doesn't work for me anymore. You know, and moving on. We're going to play with that here in a few minutes, but I got a couple more things I want to read. I don't know if this happens to you, but when I read, there are things that are written that I just disagree with. And it's good, because it means I'm thinking. I'm not just trying to absorb someone else's consciousness. I'm seeing what works, and I'm really looking at it in a deep way to go, that's not really true. Let me give you one. If we believe that we will receive the good we want, we will. If we have doubts and fears, which translate into a belief that we can have something we want, we'll get that experience instead. I'm going to read the first sentence again. If we believe that we will receive the good we want, we will. This is how I changed it. If we believe we have the good we want, then we have it.
Right.
See, you can't future in this game, because that creates a psychic distance between you and the thing you want. You have to have it.
Where is that?
Page 27, second page. It's not about, the wanting is simply a marker that there's something here to have. As soon as you've clearly got that, the thing that is the object of your desire, then turn off the want and have it. That's what she's telling us to do with these gratitude statements, as though they're so. What you're doing is you're training yourself to believe they're so. I have one caveat to that I saw someone misuse once, where they were in real estate and they were telling people that they had closings that they hadn't had. You see what I'm saying? So this isn't about creating fantasies. It's about being clear about what is yours, having it. And I think in a treatment and in a letter of gratitude, you can write that. You can say, I'm grateful for this closing. And absolutely mean it. But don't take that into the world and say, hey, I closed on the day. That's a lie. Don't do that. Be clear. Do your inner work. This is your inner work. This is on your psyche. This is not about going out and trying to create fantasies in other people's minds. You do your inner work. And let it be real for you. So when you make those statements of something being so, and believing that it's so, that doesn't give you some kind of right to go into the world and profess that. Okay? So this is important. And there are ways to articulate that are honest without futuring to people around you. Did you close on the deal? That deal is just right there. I'm focused, and this thing is complete in my mind. You know, that's not a lie, that's true. But you don't say things that aren't true. You keep this thing in integrity while you're doing it. So the people around you can trust you to tell them what's so. And still you can do your work in mind. So that's a bit of a trick. The last one on this page 27, developing the discipline of using the right words and believing that good will manifest, is easier said than done. Why would she say that? Because it is easier said than done. This is a discipline. This is, you know, if everybody could do this, everybody would be rich. Not everybody has the self-discipline to do this work. My prayer is that you do. And it is work. It's real work. There's mornings you don't want to believe it. There's days that you're seeing things that are speaking contrary to you. And you have to be clear inside of you. You have to have the self-discipline and the perseverance to stay with where you're going and not speak words contrary to that. Not believe in yourself. You must believe in yourself. And it's not you anyway. That's the beauty of the CSO game. Is that all you have to do is be absolutely clear about the outcome. How to get there is, you don't know all the ways this can happen. You can't possibly know what it would take for this to show up. You have to simply say it, believe it, and then watch your life for every clue and possibility that's part of this that is coming to you. That's your job. That's full-time work. And that requires that you cannot indulge in the ideas that have held you back most of your life, so that you'll feel good about yourself, because nobody could have done that. Yeah, they could, and they will. And so will you if you'll do this. Breezy.
This is just going back real quick, clarifying a statement you made before the break.
Okay.
You said, pick 4 things today, 2 current and 2 future.
That's what fits on my little piece of paper.
Well, my question is, can they be different every day, or do they need to be the same? Do they need to be consistent? Or until something changes?
I think you're onto something here. You know, it's true that you stay with an idea until you've accomplished it. Mine are big though. So if I think you have to be in the moment. You have to wake up and sit down and do your reading and pick up that pen and what is fresh and important right now. If it's the same thing as was yesterday, say it right now. Today, the way it is today. If it is completely different, write it down and see what that's about and work with it. You know, I don't see the value of, well, there's this wonderful thing in one of the things that I teach where people figure out their personality type, and we have prayers for them. And one is, dear Lord, please allow me to pay attention. Oh, a bird. So the idea is, don't always go with the shiny objects. Go with what's important. Go with what's important. That's it. Yeah. You know, not so much the urgencies. They'll take care of themselves. What's really important. And if it's shifting, or today's a special day, or something's going on in your life and you really want to focus today on that, let that be okay. Let that be okay. That it's completely different from yesterday's, but this thing's up. You know, maybe I'm going to see a doctor, or I've had tests and I've got the results coming in today, or something like that. Go ahead and write your letter about that. Because that's important, you know, and get back to what you're doing the rest of the time the next day. And that's perfectly okay. So don't feel constricted in this. Let it be natural and full, but don't be bouncing off the walls with it either. That work? Yes, sir. Okay. On page 31, she gives us key points on this idea of gratitude. Write out gratitude statements for what you appreciate now. That was number 1. Number 2, write out gratitude statements for what you want as though you already have them, receive them. That's that seamless connection that carries you from one to the other with the same energy, the same affect. Right? Number 3, recognize with gratitude that the universal power can be used to receive all that you want. The universal power. I struggle with her wording on the universal power and the CSO. I see them as the same thing. I don't know how that could be 2 different things, because that which is the universal power, as Holmes says, there's a power in the universe for good and you can use it. I believe there's a power in the universe. That it's not really good or bad, it's the power in the universe, and you use it with every thought you have. And that's what we're doing here. And the last one, the CSO, is your partner in life and business and enables the universal power to work on your behalf. I think the CSO is the universal power, and it is always taking what we're putting out and reflecting it back to us. It's so reliable. It's the most reliable thing in my life, that what I think shows up in my life. Drew, stand up and tell the story. Really, it's going to take you a minute. This is too good. Yeah, and when you told me, it came up on the porch.
Well, you have to be careful that this is really, really powerful, even when you're joking, because if you're focused, I was joking about how Asheville is like a strange, people are looking at it, a strange love child between Brooklyn and Portland, and I wouldn't be surprised with, you know, a unicorn and a 3-legged dog being trotting down about 10, 12 minutes later, a 3-legged dog being trotting down the porch, and his name is Compass, and he lives 2 doors down. So just, I didn't know.
Does anyone think that was a coincidence? Or did his thought create that experience in his life? That's what happened. That's how the law works. That's how the law works. Now, does that mean everything we ever say manifests within 12 minutes? Maybe not. But everything we say has the potential to demonstrate into our lives, whether we're kidding or we're serious. Deborah?
So where I look at that is the CSO is the law, universal power is mind.
But the law and the mind are the same thing.
Right, so just
So
like
it
we
is all the
have two
same.
different words for two different.
Yeah,
aspects.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's
that's
where
right.
we're playing different words again,
Yeah.
with each other. You're right. So the last thing I want to share in this matter of writing the letter is on page 34. Probably the most profound statement she's made in the book at this point. It's in the second paragraph. It reads, "Successful people will tell you that you can't have what you haven't named." Successful people tell you you can't have what you haven't named. In other words, what you name, you can have. What you put in your gratitude letter, you can have. Nothing is the exception. You can have whatever you put in your letter. That's big. That's big. Well, yeah, what you name, you have. And if you don't name it, you can't have it. You know, most people, and that's really where I want to go with this, and that carries me really into my third step, which is what we're going to do for the next few minutes. It's called Speak with Emotion. And it should say speak with emotion while reading your letter aloud, because that's what you want you to do. You've written this letter, your gratitude letter. Now read it with emotion. Now that doesn't mean read it like a thespian. It's not about being an orator. It's about feeling what you've written. It is essential, as it says in the Divine Matrix, is that the language of this creative force is emotion. Words can be flat. However, most of us, when we write words and they have meaning to us, they evoke emotion pretty naturally. So what you want to make sure is what you're writing is evoking a feeling inside of you, an emotional state that pleases you. Yeah, that's it. That's what I feel. Sometimes it evokes fear, which is not a bad thing. Because let me tell you about fear. Most of us think fear is like, don't do it. No, that's not what fear is. Fear is your ego telling you you're doing something you've never done before. That's all it is. And your body's going, yeah, you haven't done this before. You're doing something new. So go, thank you. I'm doing something I've never done before. I'm okay. And keep going. Never let fear stop you. Now there are things that where fear shows up and it's a really good idea not to move forward. But that you can figure that out intellectually. You know. But just because fear there, that's not your master. Fear is not your master. If you feel the fear, be aware of what's going on. And if this is something you really want, it's okay to be afraid and to still do it. It's the only thing you don't have in that formula is having done it before. If you do something and you're afraid, and you do it and it works out, what happens the next time you do that thing? You don't have any fear because you did it. That's the only difference. So the idea is fear is not to dictate to you how to live your life. Listen to it. Listen to what it has to say. And then you choose consciously where you want to go. What do you want to say, Chris?
Several years back, when I first came to the center, we were working on The Secret, and then I also was working with Abraham stuff. And there was a statement that says, I'm happy and grateful now that.
Yes, I remember that.
And so I was writing, this was before I met Dee, and I was writing and I was doing my forgiveness work, and I put everything on paper and tore it up and threw it in the bowl and burned it. And I was doing all this forgiveness, and I was writing this statement, and I was reading it out loud with what I had written. And literally within a couple of days, this one appeared basically on my doorstep. I didn't know her. I didn't know my company. I just moved in, but it was.
I was invited.
Years upon years, and I had asked, the universe, and was speaking with emotion, and I had gone through that, and now I have a loving partner in my life.
Yes, you do.
I have a similar situation as Chris. I had what I call called a Dream Honey list, and I was writing down the qualities I wanted in a relationship. And then I would date people, and then I would come back and refine the list and everything. And I got really specific. And then one day I just got tired of looking at the list all the time and trying to figure. So I just declared to the universe, my dream honey is on the way, and I'm going to be in a committed relationship soon. So I'm going to go out and play. I'm going to go out and have a good time. Because I'm going to be in a committed relationship very soon, and I met Mary a week later. She was traveling through with a women's band, and I thought, oh, wow, time to play. And you know what? I had no idea that you keep playing for. It worked out, you know.
Consciousness to have instead of want.
But I mean, I declared it to the universe, and I knew that
your list was a want list, and your declaration was a have.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. All right. I want to talk about this idea of a principle in neuro-linguistic programming. Anybody ever heard of neuro-linguistic programming?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the basic principles in that philosophy is the idea that some people move toward what they want, and some people move away from what they don't want. Now, that's the principle in NLP, and what I've discovered is that's really a choice. That's a learned behavior. And that many of us, from our parents or other influential people in our lives, choose to focus either on our dream desires or the thing that is not working in our lives, and that we then act accordingly. What I find is that it's much harder to move away from what you don't want, because your focus is what you don't want. Therefore, your energy is trying to get away from this thing that isn't working into what? Into a void, because you're not putting any attention on what you want. So this process, to do this well, requires that you focus on what you want and you let go of what you don't want and stop giving it power. Well, how do I do that when the bill collector keeps calling? How do I do that when the person in the bed next to me is the one I want to get away from? How do you do it? How do you do it when something in your life is so clearly and glaringly not working? Do what I'm saying. You focus on what you do want. You don't put your energy into trying to get away. The way Will Rocking-Bear, my Cherokee teacher, taught me was tie a rope around a tree, pull on it as hard as you can, and scream at that tree to let go. It doesn't work. It's a lot of energy and you don't get it. Now, can you get away from things you don't want? Of course you can. People do it all the time. It's so much work. It takes so much energy. It's hard. But if you focus on what you do want, if that's your clear focus and you're doing that in your gratitude, please don't write in your gratitude, I am grateful that this person is gone out of my life. Don't do that. I'm grateful that the person in the office next to mine no longer works here. Don't do that. Don't waste your gratitude on trying to stop something from happening. What if that person was gone? What would you want? What I find, and especially in counseling, the people that they'll say to me, "I want this person gone. That's what I want." No. If that person were gone, what would be there? What would be in your life? What would be? I'd be happy. Okay. Why not be happy now? Because this person's in my life. See, it's a rat race. Going in circles, getting nowhere. And that's what you get from wanting something to be out of your life. The way to get it out of your life is to create so much of what you want in your life that there's no room for it. That's when you've got it. And that's what you do with this gratitude circle and this whole gratitude letter and all of this work on speaking your word of what's in that experience of that letter, is to focus on what you want. Do not focus on what you don't want. It's hard and it won't get you where you want to get. What will get you where you want to get is to have a clear vision of what it is that you're creating in your life. That is where you go. So this has to do with every area of your life. If you have some illness or disease, do not focus on that being gone. Focus on how you'd like your body to work when it's gone. Bring that into your life. Make that be your. I am grateful that I breathe easily. You know, somebody with bronchitis. I'm grateful that I breathe easily. That's the statement. That's the work. If it's a relationship thing, I am grateful that I'm in a loving supportive, respectful relationship. When you have that kind of a prayer, when you have that kind of gratitude, and you're in a relationship that isn't that way, one of two things will happen. Either that person in your relationship will have a shift, and you'll feel it, and you'll be able to reconnect, or they will leave. One or the other. And you know what? Either way works. So don't get caught up in one way being better than the other. Don't get caught up in the how. There's nothing in the gratitude letter about how this will happen. If you start dictating all that, then your success is going to get really small because it can only go the way you're saying. Whereas if you open it up to possibility that anything could create this outcome that I so desire, that this that I'm claiming is present in my life is present, the means and methods are not my business. They are not my business. The CSO takes care of that. The law takes care of it. We reflect the desire, the outcome into the law, and what reflects back is the outcome. But we don't get to say how that happens. What do you want to say?
I was going to say, I think that sometimes when you shift how you think about your partner or your relationship, you suddenly see that maybe what you thought was intended one way was actually intended another way.
Because we're filtering it all through, and we've already decided what this is about.
Yeah.
And we often misinterpret because of that. You're right. So sometimes if we're saying I want to be in a loving, caring, respectful relationship,
You already are, you just don't know.
you just can't see it. So what shifts is you. And that suddenly you start getting a clue. You're absolutely right. So however it is, whatever the scenario of the circumstances of our lives are, by claiming in our letter and reading aloud with great delight how we are claiming our life to be, our filters shift. Our understanding shifts. And things outside of us shift. It's quite amazing. Things that we could not have predicted. Methods and means that were not part of our thinking at all. You know, I mean, the book, May's book is full of that, where she got this information. It came out of nowhere. She had it in the middle of the night. Or it was on a billboard, or anything in between. You just let it happen. But the point is that you're the one that's generating the outcome. You're not creating the outcome. CSO's doing that. But you're generating that impetus to create an outcome. Yet, as we were talking about, this idea of that little chattering voice in the back of our head that says we can't, gets in our way. So what I want to do is an exercise, and I need a volunteer. And I love you, darling, but I want an adult volunteer tonight. Because I want somebody who's really messed up that can. Thanks for following with us. So here's what I want you to do. Is I want you to express something in your life that you really want. And we're going to do 2 looks at that. We're going to look at it in a way that we're trying to get away from something, and then we're going to look at it trying to get to something. So, and I'm going to be your ego. Okay? So I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to just speak into this microphone and say just one thing that you really desire in your life.
Do you want like a thing?
A thing, a person, or whatever it is that you desire.
Okay, I really want a relationship.
Oh man, you've been in so many relationships and they all suck. You know, you did your best and they just treated you terribly. You know, why do you want to do that again? It hurts so much and it takes so much energy. Oh, it's just so hard. Why would you ever want to do that? That's one way to do it. Let's try it again. What was that you wanted?
A relationship?
Because you deserve a relationship. You deserve to be loved. Everyone deserves to be loved. Everyone deserves to have a special person in their life. And Allie, all that you've been through has really got you ready to have this wonderful, loving relationship because you've learned how to love and you've learned how to respect people. And you've learned how to be a giving person in your life. So it's time. It's time to be in that beautiful, wonderful relationship. So how did those 2 things feel different?
Wow.
The first one felt bad. I wanted to like argue with you on the first one. Like, no, I've been doing my work. But yeah, the second one was all the work I've been doing.
Exactly. So, you've been involved in this process, so you have some, you pick something you put a lot of effort and energy and consciousness of building in.
Yeah.
But not, but still, people in life have those first round of thoughts. Those things pop up. So what do you do with that stuff? You say no,
yeah.
and you claim that's true. So what you would have done in that, it was more say no to the first one, and then responded with what we said in the second one.
Right.
Okay. But what I wanted you to be aware of here is the emotional state that each of them brought. So
right.
the first
well,
one.
I wanted to leave.
Right. It was hard to hear things
right.
like that.
Right.
Right. So
especially
you don't
after
get anywhere.
6 months of like denying that really.
Right. So that's not what you want to put into your psyche.
Right.
What you want to put into your psyche is the idea that it is time, and that you have done the work, and that you are ready.
And I'm the person.
And you've met the person. That's beautiful. But that's in your gratitude letter.
Every day.
Every day. Good for you. Let's give Kristen a hand. So I want everyone to feel this tonight. I want you to feel this. So turn to somebody, find a partner here. Someone that you can turn to. Here's what you're going to do very quickly is you're going to I want the person who's going first to close their eyes. Do not look at this person. Just listen to what you hear from them, and I want you to say something you want. And I want the person that says that, what I want, have their eyes closed, and the other person for just a minute to say something that is challenging, something that is, and I want you to feel how that feels to hear that. And after a minute, I'm going to ring the bell, and then I want you to say again with your eyes closed what it is that you desire, and have that person now say to you what really affirms that for you. So go ahead and start with your partner. Say what you want again, and have this voice come to you with a very different way of speaking. Give that a try. Silence. Now the one that has had their eyes closed and spoke what they wanted, just be with that for a minute. Feel the difference, how that first round felt and how the second round felt. Normally that's going on inside your head where nobody can hear it but you. But this was outside, so how did that feel differently? And what would you choose? Now let's have the other person close their eyes and speak what it is that they desire in this process. again and receive a gift. Pretty clear the difference? So is there anybody here right now that's feeling that they would want to put those hard, difficult, challenging, judgmental thoughts into your head anymore? Of course not. Don't go to war with them. Just let them go when they come and replace them with something out of that second set of ideas. Let that be your work. That you don't go to war with the inner critic, with the judger, with all that's going on in your head. You hear it and go, yeah, that's not so. This is what's so. And fill it with something new. That's the work that we're doing. If you start your day with this gratitude letter, and you speak that truth out loud to yourself, and hold that for the day, and when those other thoughts come in, and they will, don't go to war, don't give up, simply step into your power and say, that's not what I know. This is what I know. Yes.
I really appreciate you saying that, because I think so often it's our tendency to just want to ignore them and move into that other step. And you haven't released anything by not acknowledging it, saying, no, I'm not going there. I choose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of just saying, pretending it's not there.
Right, right. Yeah, because it knows it's there. You know it's there. But if you address it and say, that's not true for me, or whatever your words are, and then move into what is true, it really becomes an advantage. Because the fact that it was there gives you the time to pause and say, no, this is what's true for me. And that affirmation is way more powerful than that internal little judgment that's going on. So you get an opportunity to, again, reflect on what's so. Very nice. Yes?
And I've been taking the opportunity to use that little four-phrase forgiveness affirmation, and I've heard it around here. And it's just going gangbusters. I'm doing that all day long now. I'm loving that.
Thank you. Beautiful stuff. Laura.
The thing what counts for me is that, like, none of all the stuff that she said, like, none of my thoughts are unique. Like, all the stuff that she said is exactly what has held me back from doing what I want. And like you, I was like, no, I've already figured that out. And then
that's
some of the
lovely.
stuff, the positive things that she said were things that were.
Oh, that's lovely. Good for you.
Oh, that's true.
That's good. So that's your work this week, along with continuing on steps 4 and 5 to be prepared for next class, is to make sure that when those things come up, that you address them. And that you do get creative in how you can see yourself. You are an excellent audience. You are doing amazing work in the world. You are an evolved group of people, and I am honored to have spent this time with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for Sarah.
So those of you who did not fill out your increased income paperwork last week, I see some people are writing them and filling them out. Yes, Laura.
I did paperwork.
Oh.
You're asking who did?
No, I didn't ask who. I said those of you who didn't, and you're filling them out. The deal is, pass it down. The deal is that you will do your treatment for yourself and everyone else in the class for increased income at least twice a day. I recommend you do it 100 times a day. Memorize it by next week. And on the increased income, your commitment is to tithe 10% of that money to this center. And that puts you in the flow of giving, setting law in motion, receiving, treating for yourself, treating for everybody else, and that lifts the consciousness of everyone. So, get out what you're going to give. The class is offered on a love offering. And those of you who have received increased income, you've got your tithe checks ready. And I want you to know, why am I asking you if you're ready? What is so important about being ready? It's a decision. How many of you have thought, like John said, well, I want this, but I don't know, maybe I will, maybe I will, maybe later. That's not ready. Ready is when Deb said, screw all of this. I know I've got somebody to be in relationship with and I've got them now. That's ready. When you are ready, something changes inside of you. And whereas before your good may have flown right by you, when you are ready, you are catching it. So, my question is, are you ready? Yes! There are thousands of people all over the country that are watching this class. It is changing their lives and the centers that they're involved in too. Are you ready to have so much money that you've got to hire someone to take care of it? Yes! Are you ready to buy what you want to buy? Yes! Are you ready to have what you want to have? Yes! Are you ready to have money come to you from all kinds of ways? Yes! Are you ready to go where you want to go? Yes! Be the person you were meant to be! Yes! That was. We're not just going to start socializing, we're going to know it all over